What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck that I've actually kind of been wanting to do for a little while, and that is a standard deck centered around Mega Mewtwo-EX, the Psychic Infinity one. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys liked this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and click that subscribe button. Helps us out a lot and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, this is actually kind of related to the deck, and so I guess I'll start with a little bit of background information. Mega Mewtwo, I have really liked this card since it came out in Breakthrough. I mean, Psychic Infinity, just a very powerful attack. However, at the time and in that current meta, Mega Mewtwo could not thrive at all because Night March was literally everywhere, and the meta consisted of Night March and things that beat Night March. I mean, Mega Mewtwo very much got the Mega Rayquaza treatment almost, in that it was weak to one of Night March's main attackers, and so it really just had no viability whatsoever competitively. So it just kind of fell by the wayside. And then for a while, it had a ton of love in the Mega Mewtwo Garbodor era, but then all of a sudden, people found out that Yveltal Garbodor was better, and so Mega Mewtwo once again fell back. However, in this current meta, Mega Mewtwo, I think, well, this is, in my opinion, actually has a place. There is another version of this Mega Mewtwo deck that runs Garbodor and Espeon. I mean, it's a completely viable alternative version of the deck that is more equipped to deal with matchups like Carbink, Mega Rayquaza, all of that. This is just the more streamlined version. That version is a little bit more clunky, but is the more teched out version to deal with matchups. So when you're playing Mega Mewtwo, it's either an Espeon Garbodor build or a Mega Mewtwo Wobbuffet build, and the Mega Mewtwo Wobbuffet build is the one I have in front of you. But anyway, it got me thinking, okay, so Mega Mewtwo was a result of the meta and not being very viable, and then the two versions of Mega Mewtwo are two versions that one is focusing on consistency, and the other is focusing on having the ability to have stuff to deal with every single matchups. And that got me thinking, in an absolutely perfect world. Okay, and in this perfect world, you draw the card you need when you want it every single time. You don't have to run consistency cards like Trainers Mail, Acrobike, any of that. You just draw the exact card you want when you want it every single time, and everybody has that ability. So my question is, what deck would be the best in that situation? I mean, it's one that I actually don't have an answer for. I really don't know what deck would be the best if you drew the exact card you needed every single time. Every single deck got the absolutely ideal turn one setup for them. I don't know. I really don't know what deck would be considered the best in that regard, and that's really where you guys come in. What deck do you guys think would be the best in the standard format in a world where everybody drew the exact card they needed? Like, they drew a perfect hand every single time. Like, say you're going up against Vileplume, like, you draw exactly what cards you want in that situation. Like, your hand would change based on the setup your opponent had. Okay, so I mean, like, it's not practical at all, but I'm just trying to think, in a perfect world, perfect setup, everything, what would be the perfect deck? I honestly have no idea, so let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. What deck do you think would be the best in an absolutely perfect world? I'm actually very curious to see what you guys think, whether that would be a deck that is currently meta or a deck that is so, like, situational to where it just it's not considered meta or even remotely meta. I'm genuinely curious about this one. But anyway, onto this deck, like I said, centered around Mega Mewtwo, and once again, this is a more streamlined, just consistent version with Wobbuffet. There is another Garbodor Espeon version that can deal with matchups like Carbink, Mega Rayquaza a little bit better. However, this deck I really like just because more streamlined, better for playing on the ladder. If I was going to go to a tournament, probably would bring the Espeon Garbodor, but if you're just laddering, might as well do this version as it's most conducive to every single possible matchup. I mean, granted, yes, there are matchups, but percentage-wise, you have a better chance. But anyway, Mega Mewtwo, Psychic Infinity, 10 plus 30 more for each energy attached to both active Pokemon. you have ways of getting that with like DCEs, Mega Turbos, all that, just powering up Mega Mewtwo, running through your opponent. Wobbuffet in a meta where Decidueye Vileplume is literally everywhere, or actually versions of Vileplume are everywhere. Starting off with the Wobbuffet means that you're able to get a turn, that you're able to actually use items on your first turn. Wobbuffet is so incredibly good in this meta with item lock, well, with the Vileplume lock being everywhere, and then even Mega Rayquaza builds and Volcanion, all of those are shut down by Wobbuffet. It allows you to set up in the back early in the game, and then once you're ready, then you can take Wobbuffet out of the active spot and go to town with Mega Mewtwo, while your opponent was just like, oh, I have abilities now, but my opponent just kind of trucked me with a Mega Mewtwo. So that's really what this deck goes for. Wobbuffet allows you to set up, but then Mega Mewtwo just steamrolls through your opponent. As for the other Pokemon, running 2 Shaymin, and you might be thinking, wait, Styx, you just said that you always want to have Wobbuffet in the active spot. Why would you want Shaymin? Well, first of all, you're right. I mean, running Shaymin and Wobbuffet is a very, very delicate balance. And there are some matches where I just don't play Shaymin at all. Because, I mean, Wobbuffet's just in the active. I don't draw Shaymin when I don't have Wobbuffet in the active. So it's just a card that's like, well, can't play it, so might as well discard it. However, once you get Mega Mewtwo up, then you can start playing Shaymin. Shaymin in this deck is more late game than anything else. It's more for having later in the game your opponent ends you down to 2. Then you're like, okay, Shaymin, draw 4 or 5 more cards, whichever you end up having in that situation. I mean, it's really just kind of it's a late game Pokemon. However, you definitely can use it early game to get more setup. But in this deck, like I said, Shaymin is more designed for late game when you have a Mega Mewtwo active and not a Wobbuffet active. Hoopa, 1000% early game, because Bide Barricade shuts off every ability except for Psychic Pokemon. Well, Hoopa is a Psychic Pokemon, so you use Hoopa to get Mewtwo's out, get them set up, try to get them in a spot where you can Mega Evolve them and then start attacking. So Hoopa, early game, Shaymin, more late game. 3-3 of Mewtwo and Mega Mewtwo, just because main attackers, if your opponent knocks out 3 Mega Mewtwo, you lose anyway. And then 3 Wobbuffet as the starter Pokemon. And one kind of cool thing about Wobbuffet, if you only play 1 down during the course of a game, that means your opponent will have to take an odd prize trade, meaning that they'll take 1 on Wobbuffet, but then they'll have to knock out 3 more EXs in order to win the game. So it's a kind of cool thing you can play with Wobbuffet. However, I still find myself playing down another Wobbuffet just in case, because in the situation where my opponent's able to knock out my Wob, but I still want the ability lock, because I'm not quite set up to the point where I can just start winning yet. Another Wobbuffet is very nice, so that's why there's 3 to not only increase your chances of being able to start with Wob, but also have the ability to play more than 1 if you need. As for the items, running 2 switching cards, switch and Escape Rope, because while we were running a couple Float Stone, if you have like a Mewtwo active, if you start with a Mewtwo active, you don't want to play a Float Stone on it, because, I mean, you want to play a Spirit Link. You don't want to discard a DCE to manually retreat, because, I mean, come on, that's a DCE. You want to use it. You want to use it to actually attack instead of having to discard it to retreat. So Switch and Escape Rope are there to get out of bad starters into your Wobbuffet if you want that. Also, it's kind of a cool situation where you can like switch your Wobbuffet out, put a Float Stone on, or what can you do? Put a Float Stone onto your Wobbuffet, switch it out into like Mewtwo or something, play down a Shaymin, and then you can just switch right back into it. So you retreat the Wobbuffet and then switch back into it. Kind of a cool play, but it's more just go to be able to go into a Wobbuffet if you start with a Mewtwo. 4 Mega Turbo to just, I mean, once again, decked out for consistency. 4 Mega Turbo let us power up Mewtwo as quickly and consistently as possible. Also, in a meta where disruption is so prevalent and Crushing Hammers are frickin' everywhere, as well as Team Flare Grunts, Team Skull Grunts, Mega Turbo can be like, okay, you discarded my energy, boom, item. I just played an item, and my energy's right back, and I still have my attachment for the turn. Very, very, very strong card. And then 2 recursion cards, Special Charge to get back our DCEs, because once again, hammers are everywhere. Special Charge lets you conserve your resources, same thing with Super Rod and Energy and Pokemon. 4 Trainers Mail, help with consistency of this deck. Just, I mean, again, this deck is streamlined for consistency, not teched out for matchups, so that's why the numbers are what they are, and certain Pokemon may or may not be in here. 4 Ultra Ball guaranteed, get us what we want when we want. 4 VS Seeker reuse all of our supporters. Then as for the supporters, you have the typical 4-2-2 line of Sycamore and N and Lysandre, because, I mean, that's what I'm comfortable with. I like having 4 Sycamore for that guaranteed big draw support. I like having N for shuffle draw early on, but also for disruption late game. 2 Lysandre, because Lysandre is just, I mean, Lysandre's Lysandre. Plain and simple, this card is so freaking good. I really hope that it does get a reprint, or at least something along those lines, because we do need the catcher-like effect in the format without a coin flip. Because, I mean, Pokemon catcher in the format, no. No. I don't want to have catcher or abilities be the only thing that act as that. So I really like Lysandre in the format, and it's such a good card. And then we're running 1 Hex Maniac as well, and you might be thinking, well, Sticks, you already have Wobbuffet. Why do you need Hex Maniac? Well, that's in case you start with a Mega Mewtwo and your opponent's able to get a Vileplume set up turn 1. You can be like, okay, Hex Maniac, let me use my items, calm down now. And also Hex Maniac is just kind of a nice way of being like, okay, I have a Mega Mewtwo up. I was able to Parallel City my opponent's Mega Rayquaza. Let's Hex Maniac to make sure that they're not able to set up again. Sorry, I just hit the desk. My bad. So Hex Maniac is just an all-around good card in this meta, particularly with abilities being so important and so rampant, which is why Wobbuffet is able to work in this deck. And then as for the stadiums, running 2-2 of Parallel City and Shrine of Memories. Parallel City can be to bounce Shaymin and Hoopa, while weakening your opponent's grass or fire attacks, but also water in the case of Quad Lapras, but it can also limit your opponent's bench space. So Parallel City is just kind of something that really doesn't hurt us too much, no matter which way we play it. Yeah, the limited bench space is bad, but it can bounce things that we don't want on our bench, like Hoopa and Shaymin, so it's good in that regard. And then Shrine of Memories is, of course, for not that Mewtwo, but this Mewtwo with the damage change, just being a pseudo way of healing Mega Mewtwo, Lysandre up, something that's fresh, damage change, a lot of damage onto it, knock it out, and all of a sudden you have a fresh Mega Mewtwo. As for the items, 2 Float Stone just for Wobbuffet, and pretty much mainly Wobbuffet, 3 Spirit Link for our 3 Mega Mewtwo, 4 DCEs, just power those guys up as quickly as possible and to hit for the most possible damage, and then 6 of the regular Psychic Energies for damage change and also for Mega Turbo. So yeah, that is the deck. Very streamlined, just Mega Mewtwo and Wobbuffet. If you want to try a version that is more suited to deal with, I guess, types of matchups that you would face in regionals, I would suggest the Mega Mewtwo Espeon Garbodor deck. However, I'm just doing this because it's best for laddering. I've talked for way too long. Let's go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Populazaru, I think is how you say it, with looks like a Turbo Dark deck or some form of that. Either way, unfortunately, we will go second, which this deck does not necessarily like. I mean, yeah, you can potentially attack with like a 30 damage Shatter Shot, but especially against like Turbo Dark, you're going to be doing 10 damage against that Darkrai. So, I mean, you want to go first, but it's not the end of the world if you go second. So I do start off with a Wobbuffet and the Shaymin, the weird combination that you don't like to have in this deck. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I really, really, really do like the Wobbuffet. Like, it's a card that I definitely love in this deck, and that's exactly the reason why I decided to do a deck profile on this deck in general, was because Wobbuffet is so powerful in this metagame. However, you do have to be careful with your Shaymins. On the bright side, though, my opponent does start Shaymin, so at the very least, like, he can't play other Shaymins to draw cards, and he does end me, so that's even better, because, I mean, my hand was something that, I mean, I was okay with, that I could have worked with, but it wasn't something that I particularly liked. This hand is quite a bit better. My opponent will get a Darkrai down. Is he going to hit the Max Elixir? Yes, he is. So get a couple energy in place. I mean, not a horrible start for my opponent, but I can almost guarantee that because I had a Wobbuffet start, he did not explode as much as he would have liked. So I think, do I want to grab 2 or 3 Mewtwo's? I think let's just grab 2. I mean, there's no reason to grab 3. I mean, I really don't Yeah, there's no reason to grab 3 right now. Let's Trainers Mail, see if we can get a supporter or something, which we do. We get a Sycamore, so that is actually pretty nice. Let's play the Psychic Energy onto my Mewtwo, play the Shrine of Memories down, because even though I can't abuse it yet, I'm Sycamoring my hand away anyway, so I might as well do that. And wow, okay. Well, I should have grabbed the 3rd Mewtwo. That's amazing. That is truly amazing. Jeez. Well, that's exactly what I wanted. I mean, literally exactly what I wanted. I get a couple Mewtwo's, I get an Escape Rope, I can, like, get my Wobbuffet out of the active, and no, don't end me, don't end me. Ah, crap. I mean, I'm still fine. Like, I'm still in a great position because I have the Spirit Links down, but, that was just unfortunate. And we do see the Silent Lab, but that's fine. I mean, my Wobbuffet's down there anyway. Like, my Wobbuffet's shutting off abilities, and I've already played my one Psychic Pokemon that has an ability, so I'm not too worried at all. What I can actually do right here is... Do I want to play the other Wobbuffet down? I think so. Or do I want it as discard fodder? Let's play... Let's go ahead and play the Wobbuffet down, just so I have that other one later in the game. Ultra Ball, get rid of the Trainer's Mail, and the Switch to grab a Mega Mewtwo. I'd rather play the Float Stone instead of the Switch, so let's play the Mega Mewtwo right there. Go ahead and Float Stone up my Wobbuffet Mega Turbo on to my Mega Mewtwo, and then end for a fresh 6 cards, hopefully get like a DCE or something, and I don't get a DCE, I just get a regular energy, which, I mean, it won't, unfortunately it doesn't help me get the KO any faster. If I got the DCE, admittedly, okay, so admittedly I would have needed a DCE and a Mega Turbo and a way of discarding the energy that I had in my hand. So getting a knockout this turn was very unlikely. Right now, I'm only at, I think, how much damage am I at? I'm at 110 damage if you factor in resistance. So let's go ahead and just, I mean, hit for 140. That way maybe it sets it up for something later. I don't know. Like, there's no... The difference between 2 and 3 isn't too big of a deal. I guess if my opponent plays like Fighting Fury Belt and then Pokemon Center Lady, I'd rather have that extra damage. So I mean, I'm just gonna go with that train of thought, I suppose. But I mean, there's really no overall benefit of either hitting for one or the other. I guess like just the theoretical Pokemon Center Lady Fighting Fury Belt play could be bad, and we do see the Fighting Fury Belt right there. So, and I mean, we don't see the Pokemon Center Lady, meaning that the extra 30 damage really didn't make that big of a difference. But overall, it's not making that big of a difference anyway, because I'm still going to be able to knock out this Mewtwo. He's not going to put me in range of being able to like damage change onto the Shaymin or something like that. So we do. My opponent does Parallel City. That's fine, I guess. Yeah, that's fine, because I just get to take advantage of the Shaymin, and I don't know why he made his bench space less instead of mine. If he has a Shaymin in his hand, then that makes sense, because that means he just wanted to have that available, or he wanted to have that spot available to be able to Shaymin next turn, but unfortunately, I don't get an Ultra Ball, so I'm just going to have to Sycamore away all of this good stuff, and okay, here we go. This is what I'm talking about. So let's go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Wobbuffet and the... Do I even need the Shaymin anymore? Because, yeah, I could Shaymin for more cards, but I think I'm just going to get rid of the Shaymin. That way it's not like an easy Lysandre target or something like that. And then let's DCE up my other Mewtwo on the bench, set up my other Mega Mewtwo, and my opponent sees that I'm going to get another Mega Mewtwo set up after I already have one with 3 energy in the active that is going to knock out his Darkrai, meaning getting rid of 2 of his energy on board, to where my opponent would have a very tough time pulling that back. So yeah, I mean, that was just a really good game against another deck that is considered competitive in this format. I mean, Mega Mewtwo, I really do think that it has a little bit of ability to shine in this current metagame. Then again, I say that now, and all of a sudden Guardians Rising is just going to shake up the meta so much that anything I say regarding this meta will be null and void. So yeah, let's go ahead and try to find another match, another good match hopefully with this deck. Alrighty, we found another one against Schnell Music with a Water and Psychic deck, so I'm actually kind of curious to see what the... Oh, wait, it might be the... It might be the updated version of Quad Lapras that runs the... What am I trying to say? It's the version of Quad Lapras that runs the Wobbuffet, because, I mean, that's the new thing now. And actually, I completely agree with that, because running one Wobbuffet doesn't make you lose any faster. It's like the old Darkrai decks where they'd run, like, 1 or 2 Sableye, but only play 1 per game, to where that just messes up the prize math, to where if your opponent takes a knockout on that Pokemon, it really doesn't matter, because then they have to take 3 knockouts on 3 2-prize Pokemon anyway. So essentially they're playing the 7-prize game, which, I mean, yeah, okay, so it is a Wobbuffet, and wow, once again I start off with a bunch of Spirit Links. So well, I didn't start off with them last game. I got them, but haha, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be able to play the Hoopa, because yes, Wobbuffet does shut down abilities, but it doesn't shut down Psychic Pokemon abilities. So what I'm able to do right here is just go ahead and grab... You know what? I'm going to grab all 3 Mewtwo this time, just because, I mean, I didn't last game, and I drew into my third Spirit Link. I'm not going to make that mistake this time. I'm just going to go ahead and, well, actually, you know what? I don't think I'm going to play the third. I'm just going to Spirit Link up my 2 Mewtwo that I have, and again, okay, I should have played the third. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's really funny. That is really, really funny. I should have played the third Mewtwo down because I drew into my last Spirit Link. I mean, I was saying that because I was like, I'm just going to say this because there's no way it's going to happen 2 games in a row. But it did. And again, I really should have played that, because then I could have bumped the Hoopa instead of putting myself to a lower bench size and just having that Hoopa be forced to stay there. So yeah, we do see the Crushing Hammer in the Rough Seas. If this is not Quad Lapras, I'm just going to be shocked. Like, I really see no reason why it wouldn't be Quad Lapras. And yeah, we see the Enhanced Hammer, and there's the Lapras. So my opponent's going to Float Stone up his Wob, get another Lapras out more than likely with that Nest Ball, and then retreat into his Lapras with the Energy to be able to collect 4 3 cards. And again, collects the difference between Quad Lapras working and Quad Tauros not working, because Quad Tauros just doesn't have that consistent draw power that Collect does with just draw 3 cards. I mean, that's plain and simple. It comes down to that. So what I am going to do is switch into my Mega Mewtwo, Mega Turbo onto it, and I'm getting my Wobbuffet out of the active spot. That way, if I draw a Shaymin, I can draw into more cards, potentially. And okay, let's go ahead and Trainers Mail, see what we can get. We get an Ultra Ball. That works out very, very nicely, because what I can do is I can actually take advantage of the second Mega Turbo. Yeah, let's go ahead and get rid of the Psychic and the Sycamore to grab... do I want to grab another Wobbuffet? Play, or just have another one. Mega Turbo onto my Mewtwo, and then play the Shaymin for 4 more cards, see what all we can get. Hopefully it's something good. And, oh wow. Wait. I'm going to be able to get a knockout this turn. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm going to be able to get a knockout this turn, because what I can do right now is Ultra Ball, get rid of the Psychic and the Super Rod, I think. Yeah, let's Ultra Ball, get rid of the Psychic and the Super Rod, grab my other Mega Mewtwo, play that sucker right down, and then I'll be able to Mega Turbo onto my active Mega Mewtwo. And that was insane. I mean, that's the power of this deck. I went from 0 energy to 5 energy on my Mewtwo to one-shot a Lapras GX. Like, that was ridiculous. And now, I mean, yeah, my opponent can play like Team Flare, Grunt, Enhanced Hammer, Crushing Hammer, all that stuff. And that's also why I decided to save my Special Charge, because there was only 1 DCE in my discard pile at the time, and I might as well just save the Special Charge for when I can get maximum use out of it. So my opponent does play the Team Flare, Grunt, gets rid of my DCE, and that is exactly why I saved my Special Charge. And the big thing about the matchup against Quad Lapras is resource allocation. Like, using your resources when you need them, not overextending, not ditching too many resources, having them available when you need them, and really just the not overextending part. So what I am going to do is go ahead and take a knockout on this Wobbuffet, get rid of that Rough Seas, Parallel City, decrease my opponent's attacks. Now I'm going to get rid of my Hoopa and Shaymin because I have a full bench. And then let's just go ahead and Psychic Infinity this Wobbuffet, take the knockout on it, and yeah, I won't be any closer to winning, but at the same time, I still will be in a pretty decent spot because, I mean, again, I took another prize, my Mewtwo is powered up. That's just one more thing getting him closer to being benched out because he hasn't played down another Lapras yet, so I'm kind of going for the bench out game somewhat at this point. And okay, my opponent does get rid of my Parallel City with another Rough Seas. I mean, at least I'm making him waste the Rough Seas at this point. If, on the bright side, if he does manage to pull off some wizardry and get a Blizzard Burn off this turn, I can simply do a damage change. We do see the Enhanced Hammer, so, and another Crushing Hammer. Oh boy. So, my opponent is playing... Jeez, that's... I hate hammers. I really hate hammers. But, I mean, my opponent got rid of 4 energy off my Mega Mewtwo in 1 turn, so that was something. On the bright side, I still have the DCEs left in my deck. So at this point, well, I'm obviously going to get rid of that Rough Seas. Let's play the energy onto the Mewtwo. Okay, so I got rid of all 4 Mega Turbo. So there's no way, there's really no reason to try to go for like super huge attacks anymore. So for the time being, I think I am just going to go for a 2 energy Psychic Infinity, not put any special energy on the board that can be Enhanced Hammered away, and I might as well just get 20 damage on this Lapras. Yeah, if he gets another Rough Seas, he'll be able to heal that, which, I mean, right on cue he does, but if he gets an energy onto the Lapras and doesn't get rid of any energy off of my Mega Mewtwo, I will just be able to slap on a DCE and be able to knock out that Lapras. So I kind of want him to be under the illusion that his Lapras is safe, which fortunately for me, he is, or he was, and wow, okay, I get more DCEs. That is fine with me. At this point, I'm just going to hold on to my hand. I have no reason to play it out. Let's get rid of that Rough Seas and then go for a Psychic Infinity, knock out this Lapras, and just be 1 knockout away from winning the game. So I could have held on to the Shrine, but at the same time, like, I still wanted to force my opponent to have that, just be scared of the potential of being scared of the potential of of the Shrine of Memories coming into play with damage change. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry about that. But I want my opponent to have to think about that, or at least have that in the back of his mind, because in my mind, it's plain and simple. I'm going to Psychic Infinity until I win the game. Like, plain and simple, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to really worry about damage changing at all, and of course my opponent gets another heads on Crushing Hammer. But, I mean, I'm going to Psychic Infinity until I win. However, I would like the fact that there is a Shrine in play to be in the back of my opponent's mind, so that he thinks twice about Blizzard Burning and doesn't just do that and doesn't just do that however he wants. And let's go ahead and N, because even though it puts me down to 1, my opponent, even though it puts me down to 1, I mean, it gets my opponent to a little bit of a lower hand size as well, and also, you know, keeps me from not decking out. So let's go ahead and Psychic Infinity. I won't win the game off of that, but that DCE top deck was actually really nice. Although, to be fair, I did have a pretty good shot of, getting something useful. Because, I mean, I had Lysandre, I had Escape Rope, I have Shaymin in the deck, and then I have energies. So, I mean, odds are it was going to be something useful. And my opponent does just attach to his Lapras, and lucky for me, I had the DCE top deck, which, I mean, again, I was likely to draw into some cards that would have gotten me something useful. I mean, my Escape Rope, my Shaymin, my DCE, all of which won me the game. And fortunately, the DCE came through, able to slap that onto the new Mega Mewtwo and take out the Lapras for the rest of the damage there. So, actually, I thought that Quad Lapras... Well, before I played this, I thought that Quad Lapras would be the worst matchup for Mega Mewtwo just because it had so many ways of discarding energy. Of, like, just being like, okay, all that energy you have, it's gone. And we saw that in effect. My opponent was able to take my... What was that, 5 energy? Yeah, my 5 energy Mega Mewtwo and strip it down to 1 in 1 turn just because of hammers, flare grunts, all of that stuff. However, Mega Mewtwo, because of Super Rod and Special Charge and Mega Turbo, you're able to have explosive enough turns to be able to handle Quad Lapras that even draws decently like we saw. I mean, yeah, they didn't get an attack off, but that's because we were able to just take them out one by one, just line them up, knock them down type of thing. So I do think Mega Mewtwo has a spot in this current meta. Is it top tier? I don't think so, but I still think it does have a spot, especially with Wob. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.